Standard shopping versus PMax. When should you run either? Okay. So I used to be kind of a PMax guy when I first started, and even for a while because I was seeing PMax operate at such a high level for some huge brands spending over 100, 200,000 per month on Google Ads. And so PMax is absolutely brilliant when you have a lot of conversion data within the account. Also, if you have a big brand, you're running big campaigns on Meta, different platforms. PMax is huge for retargeting, right? So these are such cases in which PMax can be super profitable. Now, standard shopping, on the other hand, is absolutely the tool if you really want to be focused on product, if you want to be focused on acquisition, limiting branded spend, and really scaling individual products to the next level. And so what happened was Google actually used to prioritize PMax when it comes to bidding and winning the auction over shopping. However, that changed in October 2024. And so now it's really based on ad ranks. So if you target the same product with standard shopping and PMax, whatever brand has the higher ad rank will actually win the auction, which is huge because that gives back the power to shopping. So if we compare both, right? PMax, as you know, operates on multiple channels. So you got shopping, obviously, but then you have search, which takes a lot of the spend. Display takes a huge chunk of the spend. YouTube, Discover, Gmail, Maps, and so on. So the shopping feed, that's where the money is within Google Ads for ecom, right? Now, when it comes to bidding, PMax is obviously only smart bidding, so max conversions, max conversion value. But then standard shopping, you can actually set a manual max CPC, and then you obviously can switch to your ROAS. Now, search terms, PMax has actually improved a lot that it actually gives you the majority of the search terms. Let's just say, obviously, some search terms Google prefers to kind of not disclose that, but it's a lot more informative now, so that definitely helps. You can also add negative keywords, a lot more, so that definitely helps. Now, when it comes to priority, you can't really set the priority of multiple PMax campaigns unlike how you can with shopping. And so shopping, you can actually set, high, medium, low, and that really allows you to target, for example, different stages of the funnel, right? Especially that is super useful for things like high ticket and so on, right? And so when it comes to reporting, shopping has better reporting. When it comes to the product, the device location and so on, you can actually set the device that you're targeting a lot more. You can adjust bids with a lot more ease and so on, right? Now, as for the budget, obviously Google's going to decide what platforms it actually spends on, so you have no control over that, which is horrible. But then again, for shopping, you're spending on shopping, you know exactly what you're getting. The learning phase actually tends to be a little shorter with shopping than PMax. PMax, again, really requires a lot of conversion data within the account. So when should you switch to shopping, right? If you want to have peace of mind in terms of brand, right, that you're actually spending on non-branded traffic, then shopping is your go-to because PMax is very likely to mix brand in there, especially if you don't add the exclusions. But even then, shopping is just the safer bet when it comes to spending on pure acquisition, right? Again, if you have a new account, you don't want to start with PMax and you actually want to focus on shopping because shopping, setting manual CPC without a learning phase is your go-to. Another issue with PMax is it's often going to spend on products randomly. So there could be a product that's a huge winner, but PMax won't really give it as much attention without whereas shopping, you really divide things by ad group, everything makes sense, and you separate that based on margins, based on performance, and so on, right? And so as I mentioned, you can really target the high margin products here. Now, also, a lot of times you're going to find that your budget is really spending on display, useless placements, horrible YouTube channels. Again, that's why shopping is safer in that sense because you don't have to do all these different PMax exclusions that you have to do very frequently, bi-weekly, or so on. For a certain product or a certain sale. Again, PMax's learning can take a strong while. Again, unless you have massive conversion data within the account. So in which case it makes sense to go with shopping, right? And so what are some of the simple, campaign structures to start? Okay. So if you have a, let's say, group of products that are maybe low ticket, similar kind of price range, then you want to really, have those in one campaign with manual CPC and start that at lower bids based on obviously the cost per click, right? And so the second level of using shopping is having a branded shopping campaign versus a non-branded shopping campaign. So that's something that we really focus on for most e-commerce brands. You funnel in all the brand shopping and you have the branded terms come through that. And so another case is obviously the more advanced one where you have three different campaigns. A high priority campaign where you have low bids, it's more top funnel. Then you have a medium priority, which is more around your product, people that kind of know the product. And then you have your brand, which is low priority. So what do we actually do for brands? Most of the time, we actually use a hybrid approach of standard shopping plus PMax. So we're going to have, as I mentioned, a branded standard shopping. And then we like to launch a lot of either catch-all shoppings or feeder shopping. So let's say you have a product that you know is a bestseller. You can generate a lot of traffic to it at 50% target ROAS, and then allow PMax to retarget the same traffic with brand included. So that's one of the go-to setups that we have. And so you should absolutely really still focus on PMax, especially if you have a lot of conversions on display, Discover, YouTube, and so on, right? And so if you have a PMax with a lot of conversions, it's absolutely running and killing. Really exclude the brand. To progress your bidding when it comes to shopping, start by manual CPC until you get 30 to 50 conversions per month, and then you can set your target ROAS.